long as I'm staying consistent and I'm making those 100 calls a day, well, before you know it, I'm trying to find time to make my 100 calls a day because I'm out showing property, or I'm out taking listings, or whatever type of client you're working with.
Agent Power Huddle is a daily jumpstart, giving you all the tools you need to create an amazing real estate career. Led by top experts in the field, you'll learn how to sell more houses in less time while creating the life you want. Welcome to the Agent Power Huddle.
Good morning. How are we doing today? Everybody's on mute today. Give me a little wave or something. Let me know you. There we go. There's Sam. All right. So I'm Kevin Howard. I'm an agent here in Central Florida, native Floridian here. And Jesse asked me to kind of jump on today and talk to you guys a little bit about, well, quite frankly, your database. Everybody got a database?
Yeah.
Yeah. How many people do you have in your database, Sam?
Not many. I started now. I have about 100.
About 100 right now?
Yeah. They're quite good ones. So not just.
Oh, they're all good ones. That's what we're going to talk about. How many total are in your database?
Not many. I have just building.
Just building?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you new to the business?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. All right. Who else we got? We got Mike, Betty, Carrie. How many? How large is your current database? How many leads do you have in your CRM? Betty, I see you're off mute.
Okay. What are we doing? This is my first time here, so.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So this call is Agent Power Huddle. It's just a free training that we put on every day at 11 o'clock for 30. It runs about 30 minutes long. Usually a different subject, different speaker every day. And today I got the short straw. So they asked me to jump on and talk about prospecting with your database and things of that nature. So.
Oh, okay. I wasn't prepared for that. So.
Just doing a quick little survey of how large your database is.
My database, it's under 1,000.
Under 1,000? Okay.
Yes.
That's fair. All right. Mike, if you're able to, maybe throw it in the chat or come off mute if you can. Carrie, I see you're driving, so maybe give me some fingers. How many?
Well, I unmuted for a second. No, I have over 4,000 in my database right now.
Over 4,000? That's awesome. Very cool.
Yes.
And Shelly has joined us. Shelly, how large is your database?
I think I currently have 3,900 people in there.
Very nice.
I want to be there soon.
You're going to be there soon, no doubt. No doubt. Well, we may have a few extra minutes towards the end, and we can talk about some lead generation stuff as well, if we have time for that, Sam. If we can kind of help you get those numbers up. So, what are you guys currently doing as far as keeping that relationship going with, those 4,000 people, those 100 people, and everything in between? What kind of activities are you doing now?
Well, what I'm doing, I have a really big auto drip. Sorry about that. I have a big auto drip that goes out. They get video text, they get regular text, they get emails, they get deals of the weeks, they get phone calls. So I do it all for them.
That is awesome. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have the same type of thing. I have campaigns going in mine, and then I try to pick up the phone and just go through my list. I get the list that everybody probably gets from KB Core every morning on who you need to call. So I'm always going through that and just making sure that I'm reaching out to as many people as I can per day.
Very good.
Since I'm just building up, I'm basically meeting them, most of them, and then asking to refer their friends and others.
All right. Excellent. Now, Carrie, you had like 4,000, if I recall, and you mentioned phone calls in there. How many of those 4,000 people have you honestly spoken to this year or attempted a call to?
So probably I would say maybe 20.
Maybe 20.
Maybe 20. And I do have, I just let them go, but I had Conversion Monster calling them for about a year now.
Okay.
And I also have an ISA and my assistant calls as well.
Oh, okay. So they're getting those touches in. That's great.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. Are you a solo agent or do you run a team?
So I had a team, but I only had about 5 buyer agents, but they didn't want to work. They're like, oh, all these leads are crappy, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you called them once. So long story short, I fired them all. So right now, my assistant and my ISA.
Gotcha. I chuckle because I can appreciate those pain points, no doubt.
Yes.
All right. Very cool. Something was kind of brought up here as you guys are answering your questions, and that is, just talk about CRM. And Shelly mentioned that every day she uses KV Core, and every day it gives her a task list basically of who needs to be contacted. So that's another fantastic tool, regardless of what CRM you have. They all pretty much are going to do that for you. Okay. Now, having a CRM and actually using a CRM is usually two different things, when I speak to agents. So using it and kind of letting it be your guiding light, kind of like your calendar is critical there. So in short, I always coach agents that there are 2 acceptable outcomes of a phone call. It's an appointment set or it's a follow-up set, right? So if you make a phone call to somebody in your database, you should disposition that call with one or the other. Okay. Even if it was a no answer, then it's a follow-up set. Okay. Whether you do that by automation or you physically, put in, a reminder for a follow-up call in 2 weeks or whatever the appropriate time frame is, it's critical that you're doing that. That way, nobody ever slips through the cracks. Does that kind of make sense?
Yep.
Okay. What other kind of tools do we have available to us? Carrie mentioned there's ISA companies out there that'll make calls for you if you don't have the time. She's also got an in-house ISA. That's a nice little luxury to have. We got drip campaigns. We got all this kind of stuff flying around. Let me ask you guys, I'm sure you receive drip campaigns, whether it's from another agent that they either just threw you on their drip campaign because you did a transaction with them, or we're snooping around Zillow yourself, whatever the case may be, or maybe you're on a drip campaign from another industry. How do those feel? Do they prompt action? Do you just delete? What do you guys do with those drip campaigns?
For me, it depends on what they're sending.
Exactly. I agree.
Okay. So I assume if there's value, then you're gonna open it and read it and things of that nature, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So our theme here is bringing value, right? So often, I'm sure it's a high percentage of agents out there. We all have these CRMs. We all have these drip campaigns, and typically the ones that we're using are the ones that came kind of generic, that came with the platform, right? On occasion, an agent's at least proactive enough to at least read through the drip campaign to see what's being sent out. So that's one thing that I'd caution everybody on too. Before you just do a little plug and play action, actually see what you're sending out to people. Okay. Because if you wait for them to tell you, it'd be a little embarrassing moment. You never know. So at a minimum, go in and tweak those drip campaigns so that they are optimized for you. They sound like you, et cetera. Save yourself some embarrassment. And there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, the alternative would be is to sit down and write a whole new drip campaign, from scratch, which that makes my head hurt, the thought of that, to be honest with you. No doubt. All right. So let's move on to the other phase of that follow-up that you guys mentioned, and that is making phone calls. All right. How many people kind of work by a calendar? They've got time blocking in place. This is when I do my prospecting. This is when I do my follow-up. Carrie does. She raises her hand there. Anybody else?
I'm hit or miss on that, I will say. I definitely need to get better.
Okay.
About time blocking. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, super critical. So, Carrie, since you're the time blocker, and it's kind of an unfair question because you rely on your team, which is great. But what would be your recommendation to the agents that don't have that luxury? How many calls per day should they be making?
Well, that's going to depend on how much business they want. So typically, I like to get 100 to 200 calls in.
Yeah, exactly. I fully agree with that. Okay, if you could do 100 calls a day, that's kind of a minimum, right? And I'll give you another scenario here,
right,
where it's really a bare bones minimum. The dollars are going to take care of themselves. The deals are going to come. Okay, it's a matter of picking up that phone, making those outreaches. A lot of people don't like picking up the phone, right? Well, hello. We're in a people kind of business, and we got to be able to communicate here. If you've ever called FSBOs before, you probably didn't like it the first time you started, but you started finding your little groove, getting in your routine, and all of a sudden it wasn't a big deal. Okay, this is no different, right? I highly encourage you to have some type of even if it's a blank piece of paper, you just put a mark on. Have some type of tracking system to keep track of how many calls you're making per day. Okay. Absolute bare bones minimum, and you should have a pretty busy calendar to fall back on this, but even just 30 calls a day, that's 150 calls a week. All right. That's 600 phone calls a month. Now, these aren't necessarily conversations, but what I like to see you strive for is at least 5 actual conversations about real estate a day at a minimum. Okay. So when you look at the overall scheme of things and you're like, okay, I need to sell X number of houses this month, kind of break that down into micro and know your numbers to know that for every 123 calls, I'm showing property. And for every, 3 clients I'm showing property to, I'm writing 1 contract or 2 contracts, whatever the case may be. So if you kind of track those numbers, that's where that all kind of ties in. So, okay, I've got to make X number of phone calls today at a minimum, right? And Carrie brought up a great point when I first kind of threw her on the spotlight there. And that was, how much do you want to make, right? It's the old $1 in, $2 out thing, right? If you had that recipe, you'd probably put a whole bunch of dollars in, I imagine. Right. And the same thing works here with the phone calls. You start seeing where, okay, as long as I'm staying consistent, and that's key to this as well. As long as I'm staying consistent and I'm making those 100 calls a day, well, before you know it, I'm trying to find time to make my 100 calls a day because I'm out showing property, or I'm out taking listings or whatever, type of client you're working with. And that creates another hurdle because agents typically, when they get to that point, what starts giving? They start skipping out on their call time because they're making all these excuses about how they have to do this instead. Right. So that's why and to tie this all back into the beginning, right, with our time blocking, that's why that's critical. So that's an absolute, we don't skip that for any reason. So all this kind of starting to make sense a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Kevin, do you use a spreadsheet or something so you can track your calls? We may have said that. I might have missed it in the beginning.
I do. I've actually got a couple different tools for that. I've got, and I'll dig them up here in a minute and share them with you guys. I have no problem with that. I've got one that is simply for the 30 calls a day thing. I've got another one where you're going for 100 points a day. So you're doing different activities. As long as you're getting 100 points a day, then it kind of, so yeah, I'll dig those up for you here in a few minutes, and I'll throw them up in the chat for everybody if you like.
That'd be great.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. So when we're making these calls, when we're calling our database, first of all, we need to talk about frequency, right? So when we talk about frequency, how often are we going to call our database? It depends on the lead, right? And specifically, it depends on the newness, or how fresh is that lead. So how often are you guys calling a brand new lead that comes into your system? They opt in on a Facebook ad, or it doesn't matter the source, Zillow, ZBuyer, whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter the source. How soon, and how often are you reaching out to these leads?
Well, with me, as soon as a new lead comes in, they get called right away within 3 minutes, and then they get 3 touches a day for 7 straight days, unless they answer.
That's a great campaign.
Carrie's got hers dialed in. She's even beating me. She's beating me. Carrie, what market are you in?
So I'm in Michigan.
Okay. Gotcha. Whoops. Speaking of dialers, somebody's calling my dialer right now.
Carrie, what do you use for your lead source?
So I do a lot of Facebook ads, pay-per-click ads, listing to leads. I'm huge with them. And then I do, my Instagram, my YouTube ads everywhere.
Yeah, awesome.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So Carrie mentioned a new lead gets 3 touches a day for the first 7 days. That's, like I said, that beats my schedule.
Yep, and that's either email, text,
right. We do
one of them.
We do 3 times a day for the first 3 days, 3 times a week for the first 3 weeks, 3 times a month for the first 3 months, and then they get kicked to a different campaign that's more of a monthly touch. And then, unless they engage, of course, then that switches campaigns, and a lot of other things start happening, no doubt. But yeah, that's awesome. And the way our system is set up is because I've got different campaigns, and we call them sales funnels. As far as this follow-up stuff is concerned, and when one ends, another one picks up. And literally nobody, unless they do the whole do not call thing, nobody gets out of our campaigns for literally 25 years. I figured I didn't need to go longer than that because I'm getting ready to turn 55. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be at this.
I'm at my showing, guys, so I got to go. Just
all right,
wanted
Carrie,
to know so
thanks
I
for
don't
your
just hang up.
contribution.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. All right, so Sam, since you're new to the business, what was your previous industry?
I was doing the loans actually.
Doing loans?
Yeah. No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so very similar, right? And you probably have a database from there.
Yeah, that database is there. I'm trying to reach out and trying to convert.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You definitely need to take advantage of that. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what are we saying when we call these leads. All right. So Sam, you're new to the real estate side, but you're not new to real estate because you were in the loan side of it before, right? Yeah. So when you're reaching out these old leads, kind of talk to me about how that goes. What are you saying when you call them?
I start with how their family doing. Basically, I'm reaching out targeting particular segment, and then see how they are doing on their personal stuff, and then establish their relationship. From there, I go there. Then I check with them where they are living, how they are doing, establishing a personal connectivity. And then from there, I'm going and asking them if they know their friends are need to buy or thinking of buying. Then they will say that, oh no, I'm planning to buy, not it because the rates are high or the prices are high, I'm not buying. From there, I take the discussion into how I can convince them.
Right. So it sounds like you've kind of got your own little hybrid version of like the Ford technique or something like that, right?
Yes.
The family, occupation, recreation, dreams, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, that's where I'm doing.
Right.
Because I'm not comfortable directly go into the real estate business. So that's why I'm using that approach.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Okay. So let me just kind of share with you a little bit about how I approach these calls. Okay. Because one common question I get asked almost daily is, what script do you use? What script do you use? Right. And I always tell people that I'm not a script guy. Okay. And in reality, I am, and I'll explain that in a second. But I'm not a script guy, meaning I don't want to come across scripty, right? I want to have a conversation with you. Okay. So my script, if you want, when I say I'm not a script guy, I'm not your traditional scripts like you might find online or something, right? Where you say this, and then if they say that, you say this, right? Now, a lot of it's because I've got it internalized, which is also critical. That way it's more conversational. But I'm always about the no pressure, right? So it's really simple. It's like, hey, Sam, this is Kevin with the preferred team. How's it going, man? Right? Keeping it light, Hey, just wanted to check in on you. I apologize, I haven't talked to you in a while. I feel like I dropped the ball, but I did want to update our database a little bit. You mind sharing with me, are you still in the market to buy or sell real estate? Nice and simple, non-threatening, right? Some variation of that. That's just kind of an example, of what I'm trying to express to you as far as my recommendation on how to handle the calls, right? So it's not, oops, somebody answered, start, hammering them with questions, robotic style, right? And don't be afraid to get off, I'll call it off script a little bit, right? Don't be afraid to get off script. And, they want to talk about something that's going on with their life. Go for it. Of course, you want to reel back in. You always want to try to maintain control of the conversation, but you want to reel back in and kind of have in your mind, the 3, 4, 6, items, the little bullet points, if you will, that you want to get answered while you're on that call.
Okay.
And always find a way to work back to it. Right.
Yeah. I have one more question. When I'm talking, what I'm getting the feedback from the people, leads is too many agents are calling. So that's why they say that I don't want to talk to a realtor because too many realtors are calling.
Right. So give me a little context here. Is this a lead from your old database? Is this like a FSBO? Who are we calling here?
Frisbo or even the other which are not in my contact. I'm trying to build my database. When I call them, they say that I see that too many agents are calling me. They are wasting my time. All
right. So if you're calling if you're calling a FSBO, yes, you're going to get that response. That's a whole nother training. But the short version is you start off by telling them, hey, look, I'm a realtor. I know you've been called by 1,000 realtors. I'm not calling to get a listing, right? You say things to take the pressure off. Okay. But that's a whole nother training. We don't have time for that one today, unfortunately. Okay. If you are calling somebody in your database that's been in your database for 6 months, a year, 2 years, and they tell you they're getting bombarded by agents, my immediate thought, my first question is, that's interesting, Sam. Why are so many agents calling you? Have you been clicking on Zillow? Do you have a for sale by owner sign in your front yard? What's going on? Okay. Because they're not getting bombarded by agents unless they're doing some type of real estate activity. Do you agree?
Yeah, yes. Okay.
So yeah. So that's how I would handle it. Because, that's interesting. Why do you think you're getting so many calls? You've done something recently, whether you want to confess it to me or not. But you've done something recently to trigger all of this action.
Yeah, I never got that response from my database. But I got from when I tried to build the other one with the leads or the one, they're the people they told.
Right. Yeah. All right. Good stuff. Well, as you guys know, this is just a quick little huddle in the morning, and I do have a hard stop, unfortunately. So we're gonna, unless you got any final questions, we're gonna kind of start wrapping it up.
No, that was awesome, Kevin. Thank you so much. Good info.
Sam, any last little scenarios you want to throw out, or you ready to go hit the phones right now?
This is a good one, actually. This is like a half-hour personal training. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect. It doesn't eat up your day, and you can kind of get pumped up and start at it. Where are you located?
I'm in San Jose, California.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in California also. I'm in San Diego.
Oh, okay. I do a lot of loans in San Diego. My client in San Diego. Maybe I can refer you.
Yeah, definitely.
Very cool. Well, for you, I'm on the East Coast. I'm on the right coast. You guys are on the left coast. So you guys are, ready to start your day, and I recommend you do it.
We'll get after it.
Get after it.
Kevin.
All right. Y'all have a great day. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.